Hello, welcome back. We are starting a new book. You know what? I grabbed a straw and brought it over here. I was like, you don't want to be drinking like that on cam. You should just get a straw and put it in your can like this. It's more ladylike, I feel. Yeah, straw is best. Okay. Okay, this is interesting. So, this is the insert description of the book. Looking back over his life, from schoolboy crushes on girls and boys, interesting, to discovering the power of making people laugh in the Cambridge Footlights with David Mitchell and Olivia Colman, and from losing his beloved mother to becoming a husband and father. Robert Webb considers the absurd expectations boys and men have thrust upon them at every stage of life. Hmm. So interesting. It's for Abigail. I don't know who Abigail is. She must be very special. Okay. I would just read the first. I hope this isn't too risque. I find when I read these like biographic stories, sometimes they can be a bit salacious, and I'm hoping there's nothing too salacious in this book because that's going to embarrass me and it's going to make me not want to read. But he does describe being a boy and growing up into being a man, so we'll see what I find objectionable. Okay. If I get this right, Tess Rampling will definitely want to have sex with me. The idea slouches through my 15-year-old brain and disappears before I've had time to ask it exactly why a sixth former of Rampling's cosmic beauty would want to have sex with a GCSE pit sniffer like me. I take Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up out of its paper bag and gaze at his pink face. Oh dear, Rick Astley, you're not gonna like this. You really have no idea what's about to happen to you. Gently I lift the lid of Great Auntie Trudy's wooden gramophone to reveal the record turntable within. The gramophone used to be in Trudy's bedroom, and when I was chin high to its wooden lid, about 4 years old, we would happily listen to Terry Wogan on Radio 2 while she brushed her hair and put her face on, or sometimes she'd play a favorite LP like the soundtrack to The King and I. The first track of that record was called Overture and seemed to be a non-singing medley of some of the other songs. I liked the overture, a friendly invitation and a promise of what was to come. Some of the best tunes were missing, but I guessed that was to keep them as a surprise. Hello, Nicholas. It's not big, my room. The gramophone is among the wooden hand-me-downs that sprout from the walls and nearly meet in the middle. Here's a chest of drawers and a little bookshelf that Mum gave me recently. Here's the wardrobe that never yielded to Narnia, no matter how faithfully I reached for the cold air. Seriously, same. Okay, did anybody else do this out there in the world? Did anybody else spend an inordinate amount of time hiding away in some closet, dreaming and imagining and hoping that you would be taken into Narnia? Because I did that. There was like one summer, especially as a child, I remember my wistfulness for Narnia. It was intense. It was so sweet when I think about it now, thinking about that time. I wanted to go there so badly. I wanted to be taken there. Well, anyway. This is what I love about reading, is what it provokes in me sometimes, especially these stories of, like, when people write about their own lives, it's interesting to relate to them. So it's interesting that he was doing that too. The bedroom walls are pale green, pockmarked with blue tack scars from sci-fi posters now replaced with Van Gogh prints from Woolworths. They have Vincent written under them in swirly writing. Recently, and with great solemnity, I took down the huge Empire Strikes Back poster, the picture of Darth Vader offering his hand to Luke. "Come with me," he says to his defeated son. There's a Greenpeace picture of a boat cleaning a polluted sea by magically drawing a rainbow in its wake. I get the point it's trying to make, but even I can see the thing has all the truth and beauty of Lester Piggott narrating his tax return. I'm not sure who Lester Piggott is. Sometimes when you read, I'm an Anglophile, so I love reading these stories about, life over there, and I'm into their culture and their media, definitely. But it sometimes I'll be into it and I'm like, I have no idea what that reference is. Who's Lester Piggott? Anyway, it's there to show that I mind about the ozone layer or something. Similarly, there's a line drawing of a defiant-looking African boy against a horizontal tricolor, which I vaguely associate with the ANC. In the impossible event that Tess Rampling ever sets foot in this room, she will instantly see that I disapprove of apartheid, and B, I disapprove of pollution, and C, I now prefer post-impressionists to Star Wars. The first two parts are even true. We live next door to Ralph Coningsby. They finally supplied us with double glazing to make up for the familiar scream of the tornadoes. The condensation I used to draw pictures in now occurs between the panes rather than on the inside, like an itch you can't scratch. Thanks, lads. Still, the room retains its own unique and homely smell, which I really like. It will be many years before someone points out that this smell has a name: damp. Occasionally, my stepdad Derek loses an argument about turning on the central heating, and the smell turns into what I would call the equally comforting grilled dust. Here in 1987, it feels wrong to be using the gramophone in an enterprise even vaguely connected with sex, like trying to make erotic art out of fuzzy felt. This is interesting. Is he talking about his first time or something? Where is this going? Why are oh, I'm worried. I'm concerned about what I'm reading. I just go on and read. I don't know what we're going to find. Hello to Dijon Pa. He calls me a senorita. Thank you. Okay. Okay. But then extreme measures are sometimes necessary when it comes to the sublime person of Tess Rampling. I guess this is his crush, Tess. I like the name Tess. Apart from being the most beautiful girl who ever smiled and frowned at the same time, and tossed her auburn hair out of her all-forgiving, world-comprehending eyes, Tess is also 2 years above me at school, and therefore a figure of demoralizing maturity. Oh, yes, indeed. I see her walking between classes, having intellectual-sounding conversations with male teachers, who look very pleased to help. I want to help her too. My God, I want to help her brains out. I want to help her like we just invented helping. Oh my. I take the shiny record from its sleeve and savor the smell of the vinyl, even though I dislike this song with some energy. There was a nervous moment in Woolworths when I picked it up for the first time to check the back of the sleeve. Please let the B-side just be an instrumental. Surely it was just an instrumental. And lo, Stock Aitken and Waterman. Love Stock Aitken and Waterman. Shout out to them. They're behind so many great hits. Okay, so yeah, Never Gonna Give You Up was one of them, but like a lot of people worked with them. Divine worked with them. Dead or Alive, they produced a lot of, they produced You Spin Me Round. I love Dead or Alive. So anyway, yeah, and then Kylie Minogue as well. Like, they had a very particular sound that they coined, and it's interesting that they produced all of these like very big hits. Your grandma was a Woolworth. I went to Woolworths, I remember in the early 90s. There was one downtown Anchorage. On 4th Avenue. It was such a cool shop. I was really disappointed when it closed. I remember being like, oh, man, the decline of the retail. I've been thinking about it lately. It's sad in a way. And just seeing it over my lifetime. The standards slipping, Woolworths was something, yeah. I liked it when I went. Yeah. There was this, it was 2 levels, and the basement was really cool. The stairs were really steep, and you went down, and it was like, just, I don't know, unique. It got taken over by another store that did pretty well, and I would go there. I remember buying some like these hideous rubber shoes at that store that I thought were so cool, but they really weren't. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, well, I should get back to the reading. Okay. I impale Never Gonna Give You Up on the central upright of the record player, and the B-side wobbles down onto the turntable. This is sweet. Tess Ramplin is surely going to want to have sex with me when she sees the way I stick it to Rick Astley. Oh my God. This is so embarrassing. Wow. I love that about him. He's really good with cringe humor, and it sounds like this is going to be cringy. So hopefully we can, enjoy that. What I'm doing here in my teenage bedroom is planning an end-of-term school hall sketch show. My form teacher, Mrs. Slater, says that the correct term is review, but I don't much like the word. It sounds square and not something you would see on the telly. I can't imagine Rick Mail saying review. I love Rick Mail. Rest in peace to Rick Mail. Oh, we've gone too soon. What a man. I love Nick's VR stuff. Oh no, I love it. It is a bit weird. I agree, it can be weird, but sometimes like the conversations he has with people are so interesting. It's fun to be like a fly on the wall. I don't really I don't know, he's played like other games where I'm kind of like, oh. It's not as interesting, but I do like the VR chats that he goes into. But anyway, back to this. Okay. At a pinch, Stephen Fry might say it, but there are limits to how much I get to copy Stephen Fry without attracting peer group ridicule. Bad enough that I started to pronounce grass to rhyme like a southern arse rather than a native Lincolnshire lass. No, it's a sketch show. I write a dozen sketches, cast myself in all the best parts, with friends taking up the feed line slack, and then put on a show in the main hall at lunchtime. The ostensible value of this is to encourage team spiritedness and raise money for charity. The actual reason, of course, is to get Tess Rampling to want to have sex with me. Wow, this is elaborate. Okay. This is elaborate. The sketches this time include The Price is Slight, TV game show parody, Glue Peter, children's TV show parody, The Gay Team, parody of children's TV action drama, also apparently watched by American adults, and of course, my lethal take on Never Gonna Give You Up, in which I will mock Rick Astley's dancing while lip syncing to rewritten lyrics of the song, which I'm about to pre record over the instrumental. Wow. Has any of you done any theater stuff? I did a little bit in like middle school for 2 years, and I didn't really get into it that much, but I did learn some interesting things at that time. And yeah, we had to come up with our own like sketches and things, and just to see how he's doing this. I love sketch comedy. It's just so interesting. Well, anyway, I do. I like that as a form. So it's interesting hearing about his process as a teenager. And I'm thinking like he's crafted this kind of sketch in which he's like being embarrassing in a way to be funny so as to, attract the attention of this girl. It's interesting. Hello, Cleaner 23. An Irish pub. Did I say hi to you? Well, hello to everyone. Oh, okay. New subscriber. Did you hit like? Okay, well, let's continue. Okay. Some of these sketches are less than fully formed, both technically and morally. The Gay Team, for example, is currently no more than the desire for four of us to jump out in front of the curtain in Hawaiian shirts, brandishing hair dryers. What happens after that is currently anyone's guess, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to draw the line at doing the gay voice. I suspect the other boys in the teams will want to do the gay voice, but in my sophisticated opinion, doing the gay voice has no place in the comedy of 1987. Even in Lincolnshire, where literally no one is meant to be gay, obviously I will get Matthew Finney to black up to play B.A. Baracus. That's different. Okay, so in his mind at the time, you can't make fun of the gays, but you can do blackface. All right, right on, right on. The book title is scrolling at the bottom, and it's in the top. It's in the title. You're all gay, just admit it. Hi, Batman. Batman loves Jesus. You're all gay, just admit it. I admit nothing. Finney is very short and even weedier than me, so he really only has to stand there wearing dark brown makeup and say, "Murdoch, you crazy fool," or possibly, "Murdoch, you crazy homosexual," and we're on to a winner. I see no reason why this might cause offense, although it's possible that there are gay people in Lincolnshire. It is not possible that anyone is black, apart from my brother's friend, Black Steve. I mean, there are a lot of Steves, so what on earth else could they call him? And Black Steve won't be watching, so obviously there's no problem. Is this going to be PC? I'm like wondering, am I going to get preached to? He's done a lot of preaching already in this. He's already gotten preachy. Hi, delighted to be here. Okay. Let's continue. What kind of stuff is he going to get on? Okay. I look out of the bedroom window and think about Matthew Finney. I foresee that Finney will resist the makeup for some reason. Probably because he's a shocking little racist who didn't even go on the drama trip to see Rosa Albert. Yes, that's it. I turn from the window and start to punch an invisible Finney in the face for being such a racist. No, you don't like that, do you, Finney? You can dish it out, but you can't take it. I get into quite an involved fight with Finney, who is surprisingly agile and keeps headbutting me in the ear, which is really annoying. He throws me to the ground and grabs me by the throat. Desperate for breath, I seize an old Rubik's Cube from under the bed and gash Finney in the eye with an unsolved corner. He reels back and Mum knocks on the door and pops her head round. Everything all right? It's good that she started knocking, but she hasn't yet gotten to the habit of waiting for an answer. I look at her from the floor, panting and slightly aglow. Yeah, fine, thanks. I heard choking sounds. Yeah, Matthew Finney was trying to strangle me. Righto. She adopts a relaxed smile and takes her half second to scan the room for evidence of actual danger, as opposed to Robert doing that thing he does. She has a word for it. Pretending, yep. She nods and makes to leave, and then fish fingers, brill. She glances at the Rubik's Cube I'm still holding and then goes, closing the door slightly too casually. Buoyed by the thought of fish fingers for tea and grateful that this was a mere pretending intrusion rather than a full-scale wank intrusion, I get up and turn back to the gramophone. It can't be easy for Mum, I think. Pretending is not normal. Normal boys have real fights, not pretend fights. Nor are they virgins at 15. 15? 15? He thinks that's odd to be a virgin at 15? This is 15-year-old Robert? Oh my goodness. Nor do they write comedy sketches or keep a diary. And if they did keep a diary, they probably wouldn't write things like, Slater in MS Today, Media Studies, that Wogan is going to be on 3 nights a week instead of 1. I said he must be feeling underexposed. She really laughed, but no one else did. They think I'm just up her arse. Tess didn't hear it, obviously. Thing is, if he does it 3 nights a week, he might be bored of it by the time I'm famous, so I get to be interviewed by Annika fucking Rice or something. I'm joking, but it's a real worry. Massive weird thing. Last night, Mum was going out, and because I was going to be left alone with Derek, everything was suddenly horrible. She asked me why I looked all massively sad, and I said nothing for a bit and then completely lost it and cried my eyes out like a fucking baby. We went in here and she gave me a cuddle, rocking me sort of from side to side, and it was boring but also good, really. She asked me again, and I just said I didn't want her to go, and Derek would be watching his nature programs about clubbing baby seals to death, and that it was stupid of me and not to worry and all that jazz. She went out anyway, but Christ knows why I went so mental. I'd load a portable tape recorder with a blank cassette and press play, waiting for the leading hiss to turn into regular hiss, then stop. If I'm honest, I can't be sure if the recording quality of this boy singing in his bedroom or were the instrumental version of a single played through a 1960s gramophone into the tiny external microphone of a cheap tape recorder, and then eventually played through the speakers of a cuboid school hall is going to be pristine. Neither, if I gave it a moment's thought. Am I necessarily as good a singer as the international recording star Rick Astley, especially with my zero interest in singing and my recently broken voice, which I still can't get the hang of? Why does it have to be so fucking deep? Dad's fault. Still, what I lack in technical expertise, I will feel sure be more than made up for by stupid dancing. Everyone likes my stupid dancing, and And then there's the new lyrics, which have an undeniable verve, if not sophistication. I look at the chorus. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm getting prepared to read this. I'm gonna try to read it in tune. First, I'm gonna swing my hands, then I'm gonna twist my feet, then I'm gonna turn around. I'm quiffy. Then I'm gonna burst my zits. Then I'm gonna shake my bits like I got the shits. I'm getting a stiffy. Oh my god. That's disgusting. He thought he would impress a girl 2 years his senior with this. Oh dear. Oh dear. I frown at these last two lines. I mean, it's brilliant, obviously. It's all brilliant. But I just worry a little that the logic of having the. I don't like this term. The S words. Okay, I've said it enough times. I said it, yeah, enough. And getting a stiffy doesn't really follow. Am I saying that Rick Astley is, oh God, aroused by diarrhea? Is that really what I want to say? But no, surely it's the way that he shakes his bits that makes him look like he's got the S words, and his stiffy is the effect produced by the whole performance. That's fine then. I press pause and then play and record on the cassette player. There again, S words is going to be quite difficult to get past Mrs. Slater. What could Rick Astley have if not the S words? Wits, nits, bits, pits, pits. Then I'm going to smell my pits. There's definitely a move he does in the video involving one arm being raised above his head in a sort of half-hearted circle that I could easily turn into a pit sniff. Then I'm going to sniff my pits. Excellent. And that should become the second line, moving bits down to line 3, so that it's the shaking of his bits that gives him the stiffy. Perfect. I shove a can of insignia up my INXS t-shirt and spray my own pits. Looking in the mirror, I wonder how long it will be before I need the brand-matching shaving foam and aftershave. Does Tess Rampling approve of insignia? She surely doesn't approve of Rick Astley, but what if she doesn't like the way I smell? If she ever gets close enough to smell me? What if she sees the show and thinks it's crap? What if she doesn't even come? The appalling possibility sinks in. I look carefully in the mirror and see what happens to my face when an appalling possibility sinks in. Oh, it does that. That's a good way of putting it, Dijon Pa. And we're in the first chapter. Like, what's going on here? It's fine. There's the funny dance. When in doubt, do a funny dance. I already feel sorry for Mom, who's going to have to listen to Never Gonna Give You Up coming up behind this door about 74 times as I practice the dance. First the words, I clear my throat, set the record tuning, and release the pause button on the tape. This needs to be good. This needs to be better than it needs to be. The dance isn't perfect, but I get through it just fine. Despite all the practice, this is the first time I've done it from the start to finish without stopping. Moments before I went on stage, someone in the wings said, we reckon about 7 million viewers. I see. I wonder if Tess Rampling is one of them. The year is 2009, and this is the Let's Dance for comic relief. I've just done my version of the audition scene from the 80s movie Flashdance. Tall, Welsh, and handsome, the presenter Steve Jones beckons me over and says, I'm almost speechless. What the hell just happened? Something, I say, trying to catch my breath. Very intense. Co-presenter Claudia Winkleman randomly says, I actually love you. The audience are still making a huge right, so it went better than I thought. Be cool. Steve Jones turns to the judges. Anton DeBeck says, it's a complete thing of beauty. Baby Spice, Emma Bunton says, she thinks I must be a trained dancer. That leaves Michael McIntyre, whom for some reason I identify as a threat. Naturally, I lean an elbow on Steve Jones's shoulder and glare at McIntyre as if I'm about to kill him. I imagine this looks like Han Solo leaning against Chewie, except this is Han Solo in a black leotard with a massive curly wig. Michael blinks and then starts saying something about how he used to have a French girlfriend. The audience likes this, so I soften up and try to give him a sweet smile. I cross my hands over my crotch. Now that the dance is over and I've dropped the lunatic aggression, I'm suddenly just a bloke dressed as a woman. Even if Tess Rampling isn't watching, I know that Dad is. So I guess he was on some sort of Dancing with the Stars show in 2009. I haven't seen it. We could look it up, although we'll probably get copyright for it. Those madmen don't want us to know about it. McIntyre has been listening to the audience too and senses that he's underdoing it. He ends with a shower of compliments, and I nod gratefully to him, even though part of me still wants to headbutt him in the ear, a la Matthew Finney. This is, after all, a charity event, so it's no time to be minty. I had a minty moment earlier, which I now regret. The term minty is used for that precious moment in the life of an actor where he or she is in possession of a complaint about the way they feel they're being treated, but they haven't yet expressed that complaint. Try it now. Keep your mouth closed while running your tongue from over your front teeth, savoring that minty freshness while rolling your eyes to the ceiling with long-suffering patience. It's safe to try this at home, but I wouldn't recommend doing it in public, or you may be mistaken for Trevor Eve. Again, a reference I don't know. I was as frightened before the dance as I feel shy now. Michael gets cartoon super aggression. The makeup artist just got passive aggression. Either way, the solution apparently was aggression. Earlier in the makeup room, Roxy had driven another hairpin through the curly wig, and the sensation was like a Smurf ice skating on my scalp. She might as well have been using a staple gun. I think it's probably quite well fixed on now, I say as I try to relax my grip on the arms of the makeup chair. You can probably stop now if you like. No, darling, just need a few more, she says. I've known Roxy, the TV makeup lady, for about 8 minutes, and this isn't going well. Young, distracted, and phenomenally good-looking, she's the kind of girl who wouldn't have given me the time of day at school. She doesn't look like Tess, but she has a Tess-like aura. I try not to hold this against her, despite the fact that she keeps stabbing me in the head. This is interesting. It's psychologically interesting, isn't it? To hear people talk about themselves or talk about their experiences or how they interpret things. I think it's interesting. Do you ever do that? I know I have, where like somebody has a similar kind of energy or vibe to somebody you've met in the past, and you kind of try not to hold that against them, but it's still uncomfortable or weird. I don't know. She's blithely reaching for another Kirby grip, and I suddenly know what it's going to be like when we have androids for dentists. It's so tight on already that I've got a massive headache. I'm a bit worried that if my head hurts this much, I won't be able to remember the dance. Roxy is only half listening, and the next chair along, Les Dennis is discussing the terms of his mortgage in bitter detail. Another pin makes a forced landing into the back of my neck, strafing 3 layers of skin on the way. The room judders. The thing is, Roxy, yeah, the thing is, I know it's a big wig, but I'm really, really sure that you can give it a rest with the pin now. Ooh, that came out a bit minty. The tone I'm aiming for is suave and avuncular. Avuncular. What does avuncular mean? I'm not familiar with this word. Let's look it up. Yeah, okay. Relating to the relationship between men and their siblings' children. Oh, okay. Relating to an uncle. So he likes to come across like an uncle. Avuncular. He wants to come across. Okay. Suave and avuncular. Okay, dude. Okay. Oh, it's story time. Yeah. You have to listen to what I want to read. Okay. A professional gravitas, which may or may not be undermined by the fact that I'm currently wearing a sparkly leotard and a padded bra. I've also attracted some attention. Les Dennis has broken off from his mortgage monologue and sips his coffee in the mirror with studied nonchalance. Roxy hesitates. If it falls off during the dance, I'll get the sack. I promise you it won't fall off. Even if it did, I will make sure that everyone knows that it was my fault, and I promise you won't get the sack. The fear, the adrenaline, the headache, the thing the bra is doing to my chest, and the thing the dancer's support garment is doing to my testicles all contribute to the following. I promise it won't fall off. I swear on the grave of my dead mother that it won't fall off. I say it with enough emphasis to make half a joke of it. But I know that this is a low move in any argument. The dead mum card is the one you play as a last resort. It doesn't change anyone's mind, but it usually embarrasses them into a more receptive mood. This is cheap. I want the dance to go well, but it's always important to remember that there's a very fine line between being a perfectionist and being a minty F-wit. Mina says, "What are those commie books, Terry? Those one the Jews wrote. This book is no good. You want me to read one of those next time? We can. I have some interesting comics, like, that might be fun to share. I think I have like an introduction to Marx's Capital and introducing like and one for Lenin and I think one for Trotsky. They're like little comics. I don't know. Those might be fun to share. It'd be fun to revisit them. Look at those ideas. Well, anyway, I cross one bare leg over the other. Roxy obviously thinks I'm nuts. Okay, Robert, I won't put any more in, and I'll take a couple of the top ones out. She says this loudly and slowly, as if to an old geezer in a care home who just complained about the exact number of baked beans on his toast. An old geezer in a leotard. That would be great, thanks. I look across at Les Dennis. He gives me a smile and a wink, which is nice of him, but now I feel even worse. Not long after, I'm in the back seat of a car on the way home from Ealing Studios. I didn't forget the flash dance routine, and 22 years earlier, I didn't forget the Rick Astley one either. I check my phone. On Twitter, a man who used to be very important to me has said something kind. And I have a voicemail from another man who is even more important, who has been even kinder. These two messages will change things, and my reaction to them informs this book. But the journey will be a slow one. That night, I'll get back to the flat to find a bunch of friends who came round to watch the show with my wife Abigail. Oh, so Abigail is his wife. I don't try to follow people's like personal lives too closely when I'm fans of them. So I didn't know who his wife was. I hadn't like looked it up. It'd be interesting to see. But she's pregnant with our first daughter, and after everyone has left and Abby has gone to bed, I'll sit in our little garden and drink another 2 bottles of red wine and smoke about 30 Marlboro Lights. Tomorrow I'll do something similar, but in the pub in the middle of the day. This behavior won't change when our daughter is born, and the moment will come when Abby will tell me about these months and say as she looks at me steadily, "You let me down." I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't got the first clue what I'm doing. In the car, the London streetlights liquefy as I cry all the way home. I think of my 15-year-old self in his bedroom practicing that other dance in what feels like that other lifetime. Bit self-indulgent, isn't it? What? This, you talking to yourself. You were expecting to grow out of it? I wasn't expecting anything. Christ. Can you please stop that? Stop what? Looking at my hair. It happens. Sorry, just a bit of a shock. I mean, what the F? It just fell out, okay? Right. Look, there's good news, all right? I came to give you good news. Like Jesus, if you like. Like Jesus with a massive bald patch. Mate, get over it. I have. Really? No, not really, but look, I'm a TV star. Oh my God. Good, isn't it? No, I mean, oh my God, what a penis. Well, hark at cunty. My name's Robert Webb and I'm a TV star. Is that how you talk? Look, if you're just going to be horrible, how big? What? How big a star? Well, I don't really think about it in those terms. Like, fuck you don't. Bigger than John Cleese? No. Bigger than Rick Mail? No, not really. Well, it doesn't sound very fucking Nigel Planner. What? I'm about as famous as Nigel Planner, if you must. Shout out to Nigel Planner. I love Nigel Planner. He's a very funny man. Very funny. He played Neil on The Young Ones, and quite beautifully, quite beautifully. He was the house mom in that funny little sitcom. Neil, the hippie, the one they were mean to. They hated him. And he was always doing things for the house, cleaning up, cooking, all the things. Well, anyway, so let's get back to his internal monologue. This is interesting. He typed out an internal monologue with himself. It is interesting, like when you watch the thoughts or when you become aware of them. Well, this is him, I guess, being aware of his. Considers this, right? Well, I suppose that's actually Rick Mail didn't have a sketch show, so yes, he did. He was on Kick Up the 80s. He was in a Kick Up the 80s. I haven't seen a Kick Up the 80s. I've never heard of that. There is something with Rick Mail in it that I have yet to discover. I mean, I know he did so much. Actually, there's many things I have yet to watch that he was in. I should really get on that. I want to see all of his work. Because he's just, Rick Mail, ugh, I miss him. I was so sad when he died. It was a bummer. Like, me and the real ones got together and we were like, no, not Rick. Okay. Look, a lot's happened, all right. A lot of good things. I'm married with 2 children. Oh, okay. You pleased? Yeah, of course I'm pleased. I mean, I get to have sex at least twice, right? Well, yes, that's one way of looking at it. Oh, Mr. Mature, Mr. fucking Victor Mature isn't bothered about all the sex. I suppose you have sex all the time. He is very sex obsessed. That's very clear. So yeah, I'm wondering if this is going to be perverted. I mean, it sounds like it might be a little trigger warning. No, not really. I suppose 21 might turn up later. He's at it constantly. I like the sound of 21. I think he's a bit of a wanker. Sounds like he does less wanking than you. Right, I'm going. No, sorry. Hang on, sorry. I like your accent. My accent? You sound quite posh. Ah, yes. Well, then that was your idea. You want to sound like Stephen Fry, don't you? What's wrong with that? Nothing. I mean, it's a bit. Look, I just don't want to sound like an effing dad, all right? Like effing dad, all right? I want to be the opposite of dad. See, this is why I wanted to read this book. He talks about his relationship with his mother. And then here he's saying right here, he's a lot of how he is and who he is in the world is a rejection of his own father. Like that's deep. It's like he's telling on himself right here. He's got all of this anger at his father and he rebels against his earthly father. And that's part of his identity. It's gone to the point that he has changed the way he speaks as to not sound like him. That's interesting. You just said two different things, and the second one is impossible. Worth a try. Waste of time. Close your eyes and don't think of a pink elephant. What? Close your eyes and don't think of a pink elephant. Okay, closing. Okay, close his eyes. What are you thinking of? A pink elephant. You can open your eyes now. You've got this idea of dad as an abrasive northern male with an overdeveloped sense of adventure who takes women for granted and drinks too much. And you're about to spend 25 years trying not to be not that. Wow, interesting. Let me read that again. You can open your eyes now. You've got this idea of dad as an abrasive northern male with an overdeveloped sense of adventure who takes women for granted and drinks too much. And you're about to spend 25 years trying to be not that. And it's so funny because from what he's saying, and it sounds like around the time of the birth of his first daughter, he was very much on a similar path. Like he mentioned drinking every 2 bottles of wine a day and also how many cigarettes? I don't remember, a lot of cigarettes. Marlboros. Ew. While his wife is pregnant and like giving birth to their first child. Like dang. So it sounds like he despite this rebellion, it's interesting how generational curses and sins of our fathers are passed down. It's intriguing to see. And our mothers. The more we reject and resent and hate our parents, the more we reflect them. The things that we hate about them, which is why it's so important to not judge them and to love them and forgive them. And just, because it's the right thing to do, it's for your soul, You want your spirit to be light and not burdened with the sins of the past. They're talking about Donnie Darko. Sometimes I doubt your commitment to sparkle motion. Well, I messed that up. I loved that character, Mrs. Farmer, I think it was. I love that, and Maggie Gyllenhaal, talking on the phone with her friend, when he gets when did he get expelled or suspended? No, he got suspended for telling her off. She calls her friend to be like, "Hey, you remember that teacher we hated?" It was so real. I guess it was too real. Anyway. Such a good film. Such a good film. I haven't watched it in forever. I probably haven't watched it since I was my early 20s. Maybe even before then. I might not have seen it since I was a teen, honestly. Dang. But I still remember it so well. So you're screwed. So I should just give in and be a macho BS arsehole like all other blokes. Other blokes aren't like that. Listen, a few years ago, I did this charity dance thing on TV and it went really well. Lots of people said kind things, but there were 2 messages that really mattered. One was from Stephen Fry and the other was from my dad. It was the one from my dad that was the most important by a long way. You want his approval, and you're much more like him than you think. What did Mom say? What? This dance thing. What did Mom say? Mom said she liked it too, right? Yes. What's the matter? A year or so before Let's Dance, I'm driving a car for the first time since getting married. It's a smart navy blue Audi A3, given to Abigail by her dad. I'm alone, but in a mysteriously good mood. What, I wonder, has gone so right? Is it the free car? The free car certainly helps. Abby's dad had just retired and says he doesn't need it anymore. Yes, the free car is a bit of an all right. An absurdly big engine for a little car, and much sportier than the second-hand Datsun Cherry Chesney that I blew my inheritance on when I was 17. But no, it wasn't that. What is it? What's that noise? Tap. Ah, there you are. Abby and I have been married for a while, but this is the first time I've driven a car whilst wearing a wedding ring. Every time I change gear, I hear the tap of the ring on the gear stick, and suddenly I'm 7 again and sitting on the back seat, and Mum is driving us between the golf club where my grandparents and Auntie Trudy work in the kitchen and our new bungalow in the next village. It's a journey we make many times a week, and that tap is one of the happiest sounds of childhood. It means that I'm alone with Mum. Quiet boy, painfully shy, you never know he's there. These are some of the phrases I catch grown-ups using when they talk about me. But not here, not in the car with Mum, and definitely not when Sailing by Rod Stewart comes crackling over the MW radio. The gusto of our sing-along is matched only by the cheerful lousiness of my mother's driving. We are sailing. We are sailing across the water to the sea. We are yeah, to be near you. Yeah. I like it here. There are no men and there are no other boys. I don't seem to be very good at being a boy, and I'm afraid of men, one man in particular. Hello, boy. Only, Dad. You're probably already in the pub. I watched you dance on the box. You're a comic relief. Spectacular, huh? Bloody well done, mate. Bloody well done. I saw you being interviewed and worrying what I'd think, dressed like that. Cobblers, mate. You looked good. You looked bloody marvelous on that stage. I couldn't stop laughing. I'm proud of you, boy. I probably don't say it enough. You know me, silly old sod. Oh, his father sounds really charming. He's like a real, like, he's got that awful northern accent. It's sweet. It's sweet. It's sweet to think about, Character, He's from somewhere. Um, you know me, silly old sod. I go me own way and I'll probably die on me own. Ha ha. Proud of you, Rob. I'm sorry I wasn't much of a family man when you was a little boy. Couldn't help it, mate. Couldn't help it. Oh my God, that's so sad. Voice cracking. All right, boy, I'll let you go. Have a pint for me. You know how I feel about you. Cheerio, boy. Cheerio. I didn't call him back when I first heard that message. I didn't know what to do. I know what to do now. Come with me. Okay, so this is chapter titled Boys Can't Get Enough of Dad. You like it, dystopian deep dives? Yeah. I think it's interesting. It's an interesting analysis. He's writing about like manhood. And he's got, it's not so much what he says, it's like what is he writing and what is it provoking in me? What am I learning from it? I think it's a book I can learn from. So, like I said, is my show. I'm going to read whatever book I choose. You can listen or not. But this is a book that I want to read and analyze. So we're doing it. Okay, yeah, chapter titled Boys Can't Get Enough of Dad. What is a history teacher? He's someone who teaches mistakes. Graham Swift, Waterland. Pass it to Webb, shouts Pete Garvey. Webb hasn't had a kick yet. It's 1984, and this is the first games lesson at grammar school. Pete has known me for nearly a week, and although it was kind of him to say pass it to Webb, he cannot know that he is making me, at best, a complicated offer. He doesn't know what happens when someone tries to pass me a football or what happens when I try to kick one. He comes from a different primary school and so wasn't there when I was consistently the second to last boy to be picked for any team, the last being Mark Sharp, who had cerebral palsy. No, Pete, or rather Garvey, because at this school girls keep their given names while boys won't hear theirs again for years. That's interesting. Okay, wasn't Hake saying something like that today on his report when he was talking about how it's proper to have women addressed by their first names and men be referred to by their last names. So that's just what that made me think of. So that was the practice in this school. Girls would be called their first names and boys would be called their lasts. Interesting. Okay. No, Pete, or rather Garvey, is a kindly top male who wants to help. I wish he didn't. Why, you'll be charting about like Brian Robson. Auntie Trudy had said it once she finished showing web labels into my new kit. The severity of the web was at odds with the loving neatness of her stitches. Brian Robson, I think. Yes, I've heard of that one. And Luther Blissett, that's another one. What teams do they play for? England. I'll just say they play for England and pretend I'm making a joke. And this top blue with a white collar, what team is that? Definitely not England. Everton then? Newcastle Rovers? Denmark? As it happens, I'm not even wearing the top. It's a warm afternoon in early September, and the games teacher, Mr. Layton, has divided us into shirts and skins, i.e., the boys on the skins team are topless. Great. What happened to colored armbands? What happened to those colored sash things that you wore over one shoulder at junior school to show what team you were on? No, just shorts and boots now, apparently. It's all a bit effing Hitler Youth, if you ask me. I'm running around with my arms weirdly by my sides so that my ribs don't stick out so much. Aged 11, my body makes an average garden rake look like it just had a great Christmas and could do with a nap. It's a long pass, and I welcome the sight of the ball arching towards me in the same way that a quadriplegic nudist covered in jam welcomes the sight of a hornet. The ball is going to take a horribly long time to arrive because I have found a space. This is the football skill at which I excel. Oh, I can find a space all right. Show me an empty patch of games field and I'll stand on it, or rather I'll hop around in it looking desperately alert. My alertness is based on the knowledge that at any moment the empty patch could suddenly close up and fill with other players, that I might be made to come into contact with a football. I usually manage to avoid this. When the empty patch moves, I move. But today my negative space triangulation has gone wrong and I found not just a space, but a great space. The ball is over halfway towards me and I note wretchedly that it's an excellent pass. The bloody thing is going to drop at my feet like a gatepost swinging onto a latch. I have just enough time to look left and right as if checking for an interception from an opposing player. Actually, I'm looking left and right in the frantic hope of an interception from an opposing player. But no one is near enough. It's just me, the ball, the good faith of Pete Garvey, and everyone watching. Most of my concentration goes into fighting the urge to put my arms up to protect my nipples. Simultaneously, I extend my right foot up and forward in an attempt to trap the ball, which of course bounces straight under it and goes off the pitch. To complete the demonstration, I lose my balance and fall on my arse. The consolation of this is that while getting up, I can make sure I get muddy knees like the other boys. This will save me the usual bit of admin where I fall onto them deliberately when no one is looking. The general laughter isn't especially cruel, and Garvey yells, "Football isn't really your game, is it, Webby?" I muster the Wildaean response, not really, and notice the sound come through my nose. In his kindness, that makes me weirdly cry. Obviously, I do nothing of the sort. That would be like showing an interest in poetry or getting a stiffy in the showers. Communal showering is a fresh hell that concludes every games lesson the way an awkward exchange of details concludes a car crash. At home, the bathroom door is always locked, and bath night aside, I never change the top half and bottom half of me at the same time. I am, in short, never nude. In the changing room, I just about get from the bench to the shower without having a heart attack, watching my bare feet step daintily over the stud-punctured turf clods on the tiled floor. I also manage not to physically flinch at the echoed shouts from my fellow 11-year-olds and the acrid smell of Ralgex and right guard, which some of them are optimistically wafting about. I'm very proud of the fine sprinkling of pubic hairs I've managed to grow. Although that area in general looks like the head of a 90-year-old woman recently returned from a perm too many at the hairdressers. The hairs keep it. God, this is weird. Excuse me. Da 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 da. We are all, of course, surreptitiously checking each other out. I'm relieved to find that I have neither a small one nor an unsettlingly large one. Okay, wow. But in general, I'm hopelessly skinny, and I'm still recovering from the number 2 hit that year, So Macho, in which Sunita made her feelings about what was required very clear. I don't want no 7-stone weakling or a boy who thinks he's a girl. On the field, following another mortifying screw-up, Mr. Layton has approached me for a bit of referee games coach banter. Good gracious me, Webb, did your mother drop you on the head when you were a small child? He delivers this with the well-practiced air of a teacher's catchphrase, and his good humor beams out of him. It's actually the friendliest thing I've heard all week. I smile back. But then if she did, you probably wouldn't remember, he adds, supplying the punchline, which I will spend the next hour wishing I'd thought of. Oh, Big Sexy's back without a shirt. Oh, my. Oh, my. Delighted to be here as Donnie Darko from Amazon. Okay, wow. You haven't seen it? You'll love it. It's a classic. It's such a classic. That was like, I don't know. I love that movie. I loved it when it came out. It was like when I watched again and again. And people be like, I haven't seen it. I'd be like, oh, we're watching it then. Well, I have it. Let's watch it. I'm drinking a Doc Pop prebiotic soda. They're nice. They are 5 grams of sugar, 25 calories. I feel like a sweet, fizzy drink, you know. They're tasty. They're kind of reminiscent of Dr. Pepper, so they're called Doc Pop. Yeah, that kind of, you know. Not terribly, but it's like a much lighter version, you know. Well, anyway, as it happens, Mr. Layton, I do remember, nobody dropped me on my head, but I did fall down a flight of stairs. As early as childhood memories go, this is satisfyingly dramatic. My mother was there at the bottom, and so was my father, your ex-pupil, Paul, the other Webb, the one who was so very good at football, as well as all the other sports we taught him. Not that Dad ever boasted about that kind of thing. One of the good things I can say about him is that he was no show off. And there are plenty of other good things to say about Paul Webb at his best. But first, dear reader, I think it's about time that we look at the place I've so far managed to avoid the place where we find Paul Webb, to put it mildly, not at his best. Time to go to the beginning. Purple, I thought as I bounced down the last few steps. It's unlikely that I actually said purple. That would have been madly precocious for a 2-year-old. And anyway, I wouldn't have had the time to say purple because I was otherwise occupied screaming the house down. It's the stairs that were purple, you see, hard, steep, and with a fraying carpet of purple. On the way down, I'd had a pretty good look at them, as well as a pretty good feel of them as they made contact in rapid succession with my knees, elbows, and head. They fanned round in segments at the bottom, dropping me neatly into the living room, where Mum instantly materialized to scoop me up, consoling, checking for cuts or breaks. She was making the kind of sympathetic noises I would make if my own 2-year-old fell down a flight of stairs. I was soon aware of another noise, though, the noise of Dad that Dad was making. He was laughing. Poor old boy, he said, chortling through his mustache. Poor old boy. Ha ha ha. 17 years later, I put a suitcase down in the same room and noticed the stairs had been recarpeted. They're now kind of old folks' home blue. Delia, the woman that Dad painfully refers to as his lady friend, catches my look. I suppose coming back here must bring back some memories, she says carefully. I don't mind Delia. Dad had various lady friends while still married to my mum, but Delia wasn't one of them. That didn't stop my mother constantly referring to her as Delilah and noticing that she was always getting lipstick on her teeth. I remember falling down those stairs when I was 2, I say. Oh dear, says Delia, alarmed. And then, how do you know you were 2? I must have asked Mum about it. The mention of my mother is unfair. It's like reminding Gokwan that I used to hang out with Prince. Delia inspects her shoes for a second, then looks up with a kind smile. Dad bustles through and he's listening. I don't remember the stairs, boy, he says cheerfully. No, I was probably pissed. Yes. Ha ha ha. Well, you're home now, mate. Delia isn't sure if this last remark is the diplomatic success Dad seems to think it is. She smiles again. I try not to look at her teeth. Yeah, I say. Oh dear. Man, these broken homes. These broken homes. Interesting. The house was called Slieve Moyne, and it was my first home as a staircase bopping toddler, and then my third home as an oh-so-watchful young man in his late teens. What happened in between is a happy story with a sad ending, or from where I'm typing, a sad middle with a happy present. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Lincolnshire is a large and largely ignored county on the east coast of England, sufficiently far north to be considered northern, but somehow not professionally northern in the manner of, say, Yorkshire or Tyneside. Am I saying that? I'm not familiar with Tyneside. Teenside? I'm not familiar with this place. From where I grew up, it takes about an hour to get to the major road, the A1, also known as the Lincolnshire Bypass. And it's this sense of isolation that gives the place some of its character and beauty, as well as some of its problems. Sleevenworn was in the village of Woodhall Spa. Growing up, I was given the impression that Woodhall was one of the nicer villages in that area. Certainly the conservative club, the golf club, and tea house in the woods, and the dower house hotel, a stately procession of mock Tudor buildings with hoarse, grassy fireplaces, lend the place an impregnable air of Tory respectability. In my first few years, I thought this was not just desirable but typical. England was the most normal part of Britain, Links the most normal part of England, and Woodhall the most normal part of Links. In a few years, I would think of the place as Tatooine. Okay, I'm not really that into Star Wars, but he said I might have mispronounced it. The planet Luke Skywalker imagines to be furthest from the bright center of the universe. But for now, it was the universe, and one with which I was perfectly content. There was just one problem. When we first meet Luke on Tatooine, he has an issue with his mysteriously absent father. My father, on the other hand, was all too present, and his name might as well have been Darth Vader. Actually, it was Paul. It's a silly comparison, of course. Darth Lords of the Sith aren't constantly wasted. You shouldn't have come back, Obi-Man, hick. When last we met, I was just an old boy, belch. Now I'm the master, and you're effy old bastard. You're an effy old bastard. Oh, bollocks. I just cut me thumb off. Bloody lightsaber needs a new fuse. Here we go, then. It's the mid-70s, and I live with Mum. Darth and my two older brothers, Mark and Andrew. Imagine a child's drawing of a house. This one would show 3 bedrooms upstairs, the little one with Rupert the Bear wallpaper for me, the middle one for the grown-ups, and the one at the other end containing Mark and Andrew wearing denim waistcoats and walloping each other with skateboards, because that's what big brothers do. There is smoke coming out of the chimney, as it should in all drawings of this kind. In this case, provided by Darth holding double pages of the Daily Mail against the fireplace to encourage the flames. Sometimes he gets distracted while doing this because he's shouting at James Callahan on TV and the paper catches fire. He has to throw the lot into the fireplace, which of course sets fire to the chimney. He has laid the fire using the logs and sticks that he chopped up with the chainsaw left leaning against the back door, the one he uses for his job as a woodsman on the local estate. My daddy is a woodcutter. The mummy will be in the tiny kitchen, standing over an electric hob, because that's what mummies do, and stirring Bertle's gravy salt into a saucepan of brown liquid. It's a static picture, of course, so we can't see that Mummy's hands are shaking because she knows that Daddy has spent all afternoon in the pub and has come home in one of his tempers, because that's what daddies do. If during tea one of the big brothers speaks with his mouth full or puts his elbows on the table, the daddy has been known to knock him clean off his chair. Oh, man. The mummy will start shouting at the daddy about this, but of course she can't shout as loud as the daddy. No one can shout as loud as the daddy, or is as strong as the daddy, which is why the daddy is in charge. The little brother will start crying at this point and will most likely be told to shut up by the big brothers, who are themselves trying not to cry, because that's another thing they've learned doesn't go down well with the daddy. On the rare occasions the subject of Dad's behavior came up over the following years, the fixed view was that Robert got away with it, and that Mark and Andrew, 6 and 5 years older than me respectively, were mainly the ones in harm's way when Dad ran out of words. This in turn was held up to be some kind of hippie crush compared to the treatment Dad received from his own father, Ron. So I was lucky, still. I remember the summer's day when I was watching the $6 million man battling with Sasquatch, and the following moment I was being lifted an impossible number of feet into the air and thrashed several times around the legs with a pair of my own shorts that had been conveniently located nearby. Dropped back on the settee, I looked at those navy blue shorts with a baffled sense of betrayal. They were my shorts, my navy blue shorts with a picture of Woody Woodpecker on the pocket. And he's just hit me with them. Maybe in the seconds before I was watching Steve Austin, I'd spilt something or broken something. Maybe I'd got too close to the fire or the chainsaw. Who knows? Actually telling a child why he was being physically punished was somehow beneath the dignity of Paula's parenting style. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's a nice account. We have a serious troll here. You love me more. That's silly. Whoever you are silly. There are happy early memories from Sleep Loin, too. Of course, singing along with Mum whenever her beloved Bernie Flint appeared on Opportunity Knocks, the thrilling day of the household acquired its first continental quilt, a duvet, which my brothers and I immediately used as a fabric toboggan to slide down the purple stairs, playing in the snow, playing in the garden, all the sunlit childhood fun you'd expect from the times when Dad was out. And to be fair, there were moments when he was affectionate. For example, if he was in a good mood, he might crouch down in front of me, put his massive fist under my nose, and say in a joke threatening way, "Smell that and tremble, boy." For years, I wasn't quite sure what this phrase meant, smell that and tremble. It was just a friendly noise that my dad would make when he was trying to make me laugh. Oh, and I laughed all right. I mean, you would, wouldn't you? But in general, I'm afraid my memories of those first 5 years in that house tend toward the nature of a bad dream. To avoid real bad dreams, the trick was to make sure there was a gap in my bedroom curtains. If those brown curtains opposite my bed were close shut, then the curtain people appeared. They were the silhouettes of 4 or 5 grown-ups who would materialize in the curtains to have silent conversations about what kind of bad dream I was going to have that night. Leaving a gap deterred them for some reason, and some of the worst nightmares could be avoided. But the real problem was not avoiding the nighttime imaginings, but the daytime reality. Not the phantom, but the menace. And he was unavoidable. A classic of this sci-fi horror genre was the episode called Do an 8, Do a 2. This family favorite has me, aged 5, sat in the living room with a pencil and paper being yelled at by Dad to do an 8, do a 2. It had come to his attention that I wasn't doing very well in my first year of primary school, and that in particularly I was unable to write the numbers 8 or 2. Actually, I could write an 8, but I did it by drawing 2 circles, a habit which Mrs. Morse of St. Andrew's Church of England Primary School found to be lacking in calligraphic rigor. Calligraphic rigor. Terry, are you a spinner? I don't know what a spinner is. Oh dear. Are you Raymond 11? Oh dear. I'm doing well. I'm reading my little stories. Actually, I'm gonna have to wrap up soon. How long is this chapter? Just looked at the time. Yeah, I'll probably have to cut it off before the chapter ends. But let's see where we get. Okay. Anyway, the rough transcript of do an 8, do a 2 goes like this. Dad, do an 8, do a 2. Mom, he's trying. There's no point shouting. Dad, just do an 8. 5-year-old sobbing, does an 8 with 2 circles. Not like that. Do a proper one. 5-year-old dribbles snot onto the paper and does some kind of weird triangle. Dad, what's that meant to be? Do an 8. Mark, or a 2. 11-year-old Mark, desperate for any rare sign of approval from Dad, has joined in. Dad, why can't you do one? Just do an 8. Or a 2 if you like, Robbie. Why not do a 2, probably? Mom takes 5-year-old on her lap. 5-year-old thinks it's over. Comedy pause titters from the studio audience. Mom, try and do a 2, darling. 5-year-old freaks out. Then somehow manages a wobbly 2. Dad, do a 2. Mom, he's done a bloody 2. Dad, do another one. Mark, or an 8. Next week at home with the Pillocks, Daddy Pillock cuts his own thumb off by going out to work with a chainsaw following an afternoon session in the pub. He gets most of it sewn back on. Mind that lightsaber, Darth. Where Andrew was during this fun-packed interlude, I don't know. Probably upstairs listening to ABBA. I don't blame either Mom or Mark, by the way. You might be thinking this is nothing compared to your own experiences with a domestic hard case. Or maybe you're wondering how my mother put up with it for an instant. The truth is, we were all terribly afraid of him. In any case, Mom was probably just biding her time at that point. She had already made her plans. Before the end of that first school year, she divorced him, and he moved out. I'll have no fury like an angry son with a book deal. Actually, I'm trying to be fair. I come not to bury Darth, but to understand him. If this account of my father's mistakes is starting to look sadistic, then I suppose the makeover had better begin with my saying that Paul was no sadist. He laughed when I fell down the stairs because he was trying to teach me to treat pain lightly. It's a hard world, and what you do with pain, if you're a man like Paul, is to shrug it off. He was trying, ineptly and far too early, to toughen me up. At a stretch, I could even say that he was trying to protect me. Poor old Dad, there he is with his 3 small boys and his insufficiently compliant wife. With his dangerous job and his lonely role as breadwinner, a role he insists on, is expected to insist on, and his drink problem, which by the standards of the day is no problem at all. He is doing what he's supposed to do. He works hard, he drinks like it's going out of fashion. He has a point, and he keeps his boys in line. He can't quite keep his wife in line. When he puts up a conservative election poster in their bedroom window in 1974, Mum puts a Labor one in the window of the room next door, my bedroom. Anyway, moving on. What a disappointment. Did she not promise in that church to obey him? It's not a promise she can keep, especially when he's broken a few promises of his own. It would be in the 70s, I'd say, and I told him I was going to Woodhall Spa, and the bloke said, well, if you're going to Woodhall, look up Paul Webb. You won't find anyone better for drinking, effing, and fighting. This is said to me in 1992 when I'm 19 and living with Dad again, when I put my suitcase down and the purple stairs turn blue. I'm in a local pub and I've been chatting to a random bloke of Dad's age who is pleased to tell me about Paul's reputation in the 70s. The man knows I'm Paul's son. Everyone knows I'm Paul's son. And he doesn't seem to mind that Paul's reputation signals to me a world of terrible S-word. I listen, nodding. He offers to buy me a drink. Anything for the son of Paul Webb, I accept and nod and listen. Dad's reputation for living the pub life in the high style was one with which I'd been acquainted for many years. I had met this guy, it was, at the risk of tabloid overkill, legendary, and even the most dubious legends are seductive. See religion. Listening to this idiot in the pub, drinking his booze, I feel strangely proud of Dad. At least he's famous for being a brawl magnet, tit prospector and piss artist. But at least he's really made that his own, hasn't he? I mean, that's what all his friends and contemporaries were licensed to do. That's what many of them tried to do. But my dad did it best. So that I suppose to myself, age 19, 4 pints down, looking for a connection with my living parent, it's sort of good, really, isn't it? It's April. She died 2 years ago this week. Dad was in a different pub tonight. I guess I'll mention this bloke to him as a funny story when I have another lager in front of the telly. As I wobble home, I find that I'm quite looking forward to that, and then as I get closer to Slieve Moyne, I start to wonder. I don't wonder about telling him what I heard. I wonder about whether this is really going to be the father-son bonding exercise that I'm looking for. There's no doubt that he'll like it. We get on best when we're both drunk. Why wouldn't he like it? That was his whole effing thing, wasn't it? Starting and finishing fights, cheating on Mum. Oh, mind that drain in the pavement. It sticks out a bit. Hick, here comes another car in the dark. Oh, he's dipped his lights because he didn't want to dazzle a pedestrian. People are nice, really, aren't they? Some people. Wobble. And there he is when I get in, watching the boxing on the TV. I'm I'm stunned at what I'm reading. Like, calm down. All right, Rob. Just watching a bit of boxing on the box. Do you have a good night? Yes, thanks, mate. I say this loudly and confidently. You have to be loud because years spent cutting down trees with no ear protection has rendered him half deaf. I say it confidently because that's how he wants me to be. It's how I want to be too, especially tonight. Who do you see in the pub, boy? I help myself to a beer from his fridge and come into the living room. The do an 8 do a 2 room, the Woody Woodpecker room. This is the room where Mum tried to protect us from him. The room where we weren't big enough to protect her from him. Our lovely Mum. It seems now that I'm moving quite slowly and deliberately. Vaguely, I wonder why this might be, and why is my heart thumping so hard? Probably the walk home. He sits with one leg crossed over the other one on the straight back dining room chairs, an elbow resting on the table where we eat. I see you've got your elbows on the table. Didn't you used to have quite strong views about elbows and tables? I move round him, looking at the neatly combed brown hair on his head, and take a seat opposite. He's 48 and still strong, wiry and fast, but not as fast as he was. I look at him steadily while he watches the TV. I say, yeah, just the usuals. Will, Dave, oh, and some bloke. He was talking about your reputation back in the day. Dad keeps his eye on the fight. Who's this boy? Didn't catch a name, sorry. He said that you used to be the most fun for drinking, fighting, and effing women. I suppose that would be around the time you were married to Mum. Yes, I love it. He was like, you cheated on Mom. My beautiful dead Mom. I feel the blood in every vein. His attention darts from the TV to my face. His body doesn't tense. Even if it did, it would be hard to tell. His body is already a rusting corkscrew of guilt and anxiety, but like all tough guys, or once tough guys, he has an acute sense of another man coming to a simmer. He checks my expression. Yes, Robert is thinking about having a go. The boy doesn't quite know it, but he's ready to kick off, just like his brothers. Good old boy, typical Webb. No, 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 mate, he says, slowly uncrossing his legs, stabbing his fag out. I don't know about that. He's embarrassed, or he has the grace to look embarrassed, or he has the sense to look embarrassed because he intuits correctly that if he shows the first sign of pride in this description in his reputation, I'm going to climb across the table and try to kill him. I wait looking at him still. I've never been in a fight in my life. But if I'm going to have one, it'll be this one. The Freudian counterfuck and Return of the Jedi. The attack of the implacable, hiccuping teenager. It's a stupid idea, but I'm hammered. He turns back to the boxing. After a moment, he says, "Your mum and me had some hard times, son." I break my stare and follow his gaze to the boxing now. The pissed up rage drains away in an instant. Hard times is not just a blanket phrase. I know he's using it as a euphemism for something very particular, in fact, for a particular person. But we had some bloody good times too, his eyes redden. I won't say that they well up, because he won't allow them to get that far. He stiffs his snot up and passes the back of a hand, the one with the sewn-on thumb, across his nose and briefly across his eyes. I see the heavy pulse in his throat, the throat that I just imagined being able to strangle. And I notice that I love him and that Mom once loved him. I could reach across the table and touch his arm. I could say, "Dad, I'm sorry about Martin." But I don't. I don't mention Martin. Who is Martin? Hi, Becca. Becca's here. How nice. How are you doing? Yeah, I don't know if I think maybe I should like, I don't like what you're doing in my chat. Like, it's just messy. It's gossipy and messy. I don't even know who this person is that you're like making fun of. I thank you, Dystopian Deep Dives. Book is interesting. I'm interested. Darth on the deck, his mask off for a second, and neither of us can really bear it. I watch the boxing with him for what I think is a decent interval, and then I say, "Night, Dad," and he replies, "Night, boy," and that's that. You see the childhood drawing of Sleve Moyne, the one with 2 grown-ups and 3 boys, the one that started with, that picture is incomplete. It's a house that I remember, but if I showed that drawing to Mom, Dad, Mark, or Andrew, they would look at it for a long time. They would see that someone is missing. In Auntie Trudy's bedroom at the end of the gramophone is a picture box. It's a Perspex cube holding 6 photographs. The one that she keeps facing upwards so that she can always see it is of a cherubic boy with light brown hair wearing his St. Andrew's school uniform. This is Martin John Webb, my eldest brother, who died of meningitis when he was 6 years old. Oh, wow. John Lydon had meningitis. The book Rotten, like I really recommend that one. It's his autobiography, and when he talks about the experience of having meningitis, it's fascinating. Um, you're looking at eBay while listening. What are you shopping for? I do love going on eBay sometimes. It's the best place to find certain things, especially when you're looking for something particular, something vintage or something like, yeah, usually. That's usually what I go on there for. New computer, okay. Yeah, I've never bought a computer through eBay. But people sell everything. Yeah, new but used. I love buying used things. If it's in good condition and you can give it new life and you can save money, I mean, why not? I mean, Amazon has that option too. Like with books, I always get something used. Like, why? Why? Have I seen The Great Rock and Roll Swindle? Yes, I have. Yes. I love the Sex Pistols. I love John Lydon specifically. I love Public Image Limited. Just his whole career, and he came out and supported Trump too, didn't he? He got a bunch of slack for that too, because he's a U.S. citizen, and yeah, he went on the news and he had his little mega cap. I remember that. Duran Duran is better than Public Image Limited. I mean, yeah, in the sense that they were more successful and they had a more polished product, I would say, but I don't know. I wouldn't say they were, objectively better stylistically. I mean, they're more of a girls band, I guess. I mean, I like girls bands. I like bands that cater to women. Actually, it's nice to be catered to. When it when men do that, they win out. I like Japan as well. ABC, yes. Ultravox, yes. I don't know. I don't really eat at Olive Garden. I've had nice experiences though when I've eaten there. I think I've eaten there like twice in my life, maybe three times. Japan is amazing. I love the album Tin Drum. I remember the first time I heard it. Also, Gentlemen Take Polaroids. That is like, oh, it just takes you away. It's just, oh, it's so, I don't know. What is, I mean, it's interesting. Good for you, delighted to be here. I have a couple profiles. I've got like Facebook and Instagram. I deleted Twitter because I didn't need to be on that mess. Um, Although sometimes I wonder about it because I know people use it more. It's like a better way to contact people and network in some ways. So sometimes I wonder if I should open up another Twitter account and just have it for like that, use it to network and not use it to spread my opinions, which people don't really need. But yeah, it was a mess. And I thought my Twitter was good. My Twitter was funny. Like I would read through it and be like, yeah, this is good. But a lot of that is ego. And it was, I mean, I do enough embarrassing of myself here, live or, in the chats or whatever that I don't need to worry about having more avenues to do it, really. The less you have, the better. And it's good to have your anonymity as well. I just haven't had it for a long time, so but I don't know. I also kind of tire of it sometimes. I wonder if it would be nice to just be a non. Terry has a skullet. Party in the front, party in the back. A skullet? Uh, I know. I have a friend who dated a guy who had a skullet. And I told her not to do that. But did she listen? No. She showed me his picture. I was like, what is that? And she was like, it's awesome. And I was like, it is not awesome. It's it's like where it's yeah, I don't know. It was nasty. It upset me. It was an obscene hairstyle. I was like, it's hideous. Like and she's just like, oh, there you go, being nasty again. Well, that didn't last, did it? Who was right? Who was right? I need mods. I do need mods. Or I could mod it. But he's being disgusting. He's having his little outburst because he got banned hard today. You got banned hard, didn't you? They came for you. And now you're trying to get some glory back here. Now he's getting his little bit of glory. Okay. Talking mess. Make Ray a mod. Indeed, I will not. I can't. I'm not even on YouTube right now streaming, so I don't even have access to do that. If anyone's gonna mod it, it's gonna be somebody who's old school or me. So that's it. I'm letting him get his little. He said a bunch of stuff. None of it is true. Hey, I don't know why you're doxing somebody. Like, what are you getting out of that? Like, okay, you know this who this guy is that has the account. Okay, what you crying about? Okay. One way of imagining life is that it's a competition between love and death. Death always wins, of course, but love is there to make its victory a hollow one. That's what love is for. When the worst came for Mom and Dad in 1971, there was nothing they could do. Hey, come on, stop. There was nothing they could do to soften the blow, but they had enough remaining love to make a reply. I can't help liking the reply. My brother died and I was born 10 months later. Oh, interesting. Hey, baby. You having feelings? If something terrible happens to you and you're lucky enough to have supportive friends, there will be a period where you hear a version of this several times a week. And if you need to talk, I'm right here. I mean, just talk because I'm here for a talk. And if you don't want to talk, maybe think about talking. Talk. There are times when we're all grateful to hear this, and other times when we experience it as pressure, indeed. And although I've no doubt that there are many women and girls who have that second reaction, I think it's men and boys in particular who get into trouble here. We feel grateful for the kindness, but helpless and frustrated. Talk about what? What's to talk about? Talking won't change anything, will it? Suddenly, we're surrounded by well meaning people encouraging us to talk about our feelings. The problem is, talking about our feelings is something we've been specially trained not to do, specifically trained not to do. Well, yeah, because it's horrible for you. Hmm. Yay. Yay. Yeah, you can too become a member and get your own little gayo flag, as Mina calls it. What are we saying to a boy when we tell him to man up or act like a man? At its most benign, we might just be saying, do the thing that needs doing, even if you don't want to do it. But more often, when we tell a boy to act like a man, we're effectively saying, stop expressing those feelings. And if the boy hears that often enough, it actually starts to sound uncannily like, stop feeling those feelings. It sounds like this: pain, guilt, grief, fear, anxiety. These are not appropriate emotions for a boy because they will be unacceptable emotions for a man. The skills you need to be your own emotional detective, being able to name a feeling and work out why you're feeling it. You don't need to develop those skills. You won't need them. It sounds like a good deal. The great thing about refusing to feel feelings is that once you've denied them, you won't have to take responsibility for them. Your feelings will be someone else's problem: your mother's problem, your girlfriend's problem, your wife's problem. If it has come out at all, let it come out as anger. You're allowed to be angry. It's boyish and manlike to be angry. Yeah, I think this was another thing for me because I definitely picked that up from my father. You know, not that he didn't express other emotions, but like I definitely grew up with the sense, just I think being in a masculine environment like that, that the only appropriate way to express emotion was anger. And so I often would like stifle other expressions, even though they were being more appropriate and would have gotten me into a lot less trouble. Do I love getting the best parking spot at Kroger? I get the best treatment everywhere I go, as I deserve, because I'm a little princess, okay? And so in this modern era, this is the way that we've designed it so that the royalty, can get their best place. So yeah, I love it. Yay. You're wearing a Public Image Limited t-shirt? Awesome. Awesome. My friend came to visit a couple months ago, or like early June, was it? Yeah. Yeah, she came to visit early June and she was wearing that when she arrived. I was like, oh, hey, girl. Y'all drinking? Oh, dear. 90s country tees. Nice. The only band shirts I've got a few. I've got a Susie and the Banshees one I've had since I was like 17. It's like really tattered. And then I've got a couple of Morrissey ones, and I have a couple of the Cure ones, and I do have a Suede t-shirt actually. Yeah, I do. It's one with all their last names on it. I'm not even wearing that much makeup. My makeup is extremely light today. You don't know nothing. You don't know nothing about makeup. Yes, Morrissey is very based. I love him. I love him so much. He is my friend. I will defend him and protect him. Okay, let's get back to him whining about men having to act like men. But I do agree with that. I do find that, yeah, men who don't know how to emotionally self regulate really do drain the women in their lives. You know, they really do just cause a lot of problems. And it's, as a woman, it's hard when you're like trying to manage your own emotional nature, and then, you have to figure that all out for somebody else at the same time. It, it can be really destructive, which is why, you have to be able to go within and like watch yourself. I do it. I notice it more often these days, but I still do it. I express anger when what I'm actually feeling is shame, or I get angry when I'm afraid, angry when I'm feeling uncertain or anxious, angry when I'm in grief. I bet you can think of men who even get angry when they fall in love. Who's gotten angry when they fall in love? I know I do. I'm like, oh man, gotta put the clown shoes on again. Oh, you are so baby right now. He was not having that in my, you can't get on my lap. No, you're so baby. You're so baby right now. You were like, you're gonna hold me, woman. Oh my goodness. Oh, this kitty. This poor kitty. Oh, this poor kitty. I'm almost done reading. I'm almost done. What a good kitty. Did you rip a hole in my shirt? It felt like you did. Oh, stop. It sure felt like you did. I was like, ooh, he's tearing my flimsy shirt. You love getting kissed right there, right there. That's the spot, right there. Right on his little head. Oh, that's the spot. You love cats? They are. They're so wonderful. He's so cool. He's taught me so much. He's such a good kitty, and he's sweet and he's funny. He's cute as a mug. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's a good kid. Okay. Okay. I bet you can think of men who even get angry when they fall in love, and women, and probably have angry sex. And yes, women do it too. Of course they do. The difference is that they haven't been encouraged since childhood to wear a total lack of self awareness as a badge of pride. Man, he hates his manhood. You have a cat? Awesome. I do too. I like all animals pretty much. I find them all special in their own way. I try to be kind to them, even the littlest ones, even bugs. It's White History Month. Your cat likes to cuddle with you? Of course he does. Cats, it's nice to cuddle. It's nice to cuddle with a cat. When they're purring on you, it's such a nice experience to be accepted by a cat as their friend and human, to get their approval, to wake up and get kisses from them. Becca's got a cat too. All right. Yeah, they're wonderful animals. Yeah, and he's very soft. I people who don't like cats, I'm always like, sometimes people aren't raised around them. And we had dogs a bit growing up. We never really had a dog. When we got into the place that we really settled when I was in second grade, we had cats. And it was awesome. Sometimes I would look after my uncle's dog, like when they would be out on vacation or, just not when they weren't at home. I would take care of their animals. So I did have a pretty strong relationship with that dog. I loved her. She was more of a man's dog, though. She definitely would go crazy for my uncle and my dad, when they would come home. I think but she and I had a good relationship. I did dote on her. She got really bad arthritis in her older age. I would still take her on walks. Mm. I know Sean was so handsome. We miss handsome Sean. He was so cute. It wasn't real, was it, Becca? When I found out he was only 31, I was like, oh my. I'm going to stop looking at him. Thank you, Larry. Okay, I need to finish this. I'm almost done with the chapter. Okay. On the contrary, the message they've been getting is that they are intuitive, they are nurturers, and good listeners, and to nurturingly sort out the laundry. Luckily, they can also multitask so that they can do both at the same time, as well as booking their kids' dental appointments and making a lasagna. Sadly, men can't multitask, apparently, which must be the reason we tend to take a step back from all of that. And yet, when people saw Dad walking down the street in Woodhall Spa, they did not think, ah, there goes Paul Webb, a walking powder keg of repressed grief. Paul's public face was beloved more or less by the entire village. Generous with his time, charismatic, cheeky, cajoling, and straightforwardly kind, he didn't so much live in that village as host it. He would walk into a pub, and I would watch the whole room subtly adjust itself in his direction and settle itself in for a treat. They adored him, but then they didn't have to live with him. Mum did. She had been through the same loss and put up with Dad's domestic reaction until she couldn't put up with it any longer. Her name, by the way, was Pat. She hated Patricia. And if kicking Dad out of the house was brave, what she did next was heroic. And we'll stop there. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. We're debating the attractiveness of Sean, which is, I think, not up for debate. Only 31. I'm 23. Good God. I know we do. I don't know. They're attractive boys. They are attractive boys. All of them, I think, are attractive in their own ways. Hake and Joel and Nick, all are. I think they got it going on. They do. I never heard it. Women have bad taste. Don't take it personal. I know. I know. A lot of them do. Dystopian deep dive says, okay. What are you responding to? Hmm. Mina does not think Sean was handsome. He was beautiful. He should have been modeling. Like I was wondering, like, isn't he? Why isn't he modeling? Is he modeling? Get that boy like on some things. Because really, he had a face for it. I don't know what his body was like, but he was pretty, like in ways that most people aren't. He had a uniqueness to him, especially like the lightness of his features. He could really exploit that. That kind of light skin and light hair. It's not common, and he had strong features. Like he'd do well. I could see him modeling all kinds of things. But anyway, Tyrone is here. That's right. Tyrone is back. How about Omid? I don't know who Omid is. Greta's twin brother. Yo, they kind of do look a little bit alike, don't they? But that just means Greta's kind of a handsome girl. She's a handsome girl. I knew a Greta. She was a lovely woman. Yeah, she was. Greta. She was my neighbor growing up. She had a daughter that I would play with. Very fun. Mm. Oh, meet the new Bond guy. I don't know. I haven't seen him meet the little Aryan dude again. Aryan dude? What are you freaking out about? Why are you acting so baby right now? Silly. Okay, let me get the bookmark in the book. That was the introduction and first chapter of How Not to Be a Boy by Robert Webb. Interesting. He's tall, bald, and white. Good for him. Good for him. So is this guy. Oh, he's not completely bald, but balding. Hmm. Hi, you are being so affectionate right now. Look at you. I'm so lucky. Look at this. I can't believe it. I can't believe someone likes me this much. That he would get on my lap and cuddle me so much. Oh my goodness. Is it bedtime? We're going to have to go to bed, aren't we? We are. We're going to have to take it all down and go to bed. Yeah. How am I attracting all of these derelicts? Show the cat. You want to see Nero? Okay, let's see. See Nero. Okay, this down here. Set that up. Okay, here he is. There he is. Isn't he sweet? My little kitten. Isn't he special? Oh, what a sweet guy. Isn't he sweet? You are so beautiful. They love you. They think you're so handsome. Yeah, I'm a black cat supremacist. I believe in black cat supremacy. I mean, look at him. He's so special. Isn't he something special? Like, look how self-satisfied he is, too. He's just smug as a mug. He's just so comfy. He's in my lap. I got my arms around him. He's nestled up. He's loving every moment. Yeah, how am I attracting these derelicts? That's a good question. He's a very loud purr, yes. Yes, he does get very purry. He makes little trill sounds. He's a triller. He's the trillist. Black cats matter. That's right. That's right. Black cats matter. Do black cats matter? Put that on a shirt. That's right. Look at them eyes. Isn't he beautiful? Look at those eyes. Those are the eyes of my kitten, my sweet kitten. That Pharaoh stole my bike. Oh my goodness. No, he don't. He's a cat boy. He's a cat. I spoil him. I take care of him. He living the life of luxury with me because that's what he deserves. Not the coffee and the sunglass emoji. Okay. Well, that's my Nero. Hope you enjoyed him. What a night. All right. It's late. Not really, but it's late for me. You're gonna get off of me so I can get up and turn this off, okay, baby? Then we can go to bed. I mean, I'm gonna have to get taken off, but then we'll go to bed. Then we'll get some rest. You want that? No. Okay. Come on, Shug. All right, my baby. There you go. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for joining me tonight. It was fun getting a little bit of headway into a new book, visiting with Nero, and chatting. It's been a good stream. But yeah, it is time to retire for me. I hope you all take care, and I will see you another time, another place. All right. Bye.